Well, good morning, and thank you for joining us this early in the morning on a cold winter, almost spring day. We are delighted to be here on the very first dissemination workshop of the Diverse Black Africa program. This has been such a successful and delightful encounter with our colleagues on the African continent. And just as a brief overview of what the program is about, we were intent on having people of African descent who are faculty and staff here at Michigan State University connect with Africans on the African continent who are working at universities and doing academic work. And we see this as a progressive way of moving forward for the building of the community of the African diaspora, what others call the African diaspora at home and abroad. So this is a proud moment for us that we're able to come together and do these various projects of collaboration, of research, teaching collaborations. And so we are thankful to be here, to be at the point where we now can disseminate what we have learned. We would like to thank our sponsors, the Office of Institutional Equity, the Black Faculty Staff and Administrators Association, the African Studies Center, the Center for Agriculture and Natural Resources, and of course, the Alliance for African Partnership. We thank these sponsors who have made this possible, and because of the shortness of time, we're going to move quickly, and I'm going to ask my colleague, Amy Jameson, to do some housekeeping for us.
Thank you, Isaac. Good morning, everyone. I'm Amy Jameson, co-director of the Alliance for African Partnership. Pleased to be with you this morning. Just a few housekeeping items. Could you, anyone who is not speaking or presenting, if you could mute yourself, that would be very helpful. I think, for the sake of bandwidth, we'll also ask people to turn off videos who are not presenting at the time. And but when you are presenting, feel free to turn your video on, and you can show yourself. That would be great. We ask the audience to, and any of the presenters who are here today, if you have questions for other presenters, please feel free to put those in the chat. We'll have a Q&A session at the end, but there's also opportunity to engage with one another in the chat. I think that's everything, Isaac. So I'll pass it back to you to get us rolling with our presentations.
Thank you very much, Amy. So I'm at this point going to introduce our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Program Coordinator, Anjam Chowdhury, to give us a few remarks.
Thank you very much, Isaac and Amy. So good morning and welcome everyone for this virtual dissemination workshop for the Diverse Black Africa, which I will refer to DBA program. It's a pleasure to have all you here today with us. And as you all know, DBA program is a groundbreaking initiative launched by MSU to foster collaborations between Black diaspora faculty, academic staff, and administrators at MSU and African universities in the AAP consortium. And since its launch in January 2022, the DBA program has been making some incredible progress. 9 collaborative teams representing 8 colleges and 11 departments across MSU campus have finalized their plans for engagement, which includes joint research, joint publications, faculty exchanges, conference participation, global classrooms, and preparations of position papers. They began their work in April 2022, and we were thrilled to see such a strong commitment to collaboration and partnership. At its core, DBA program aims to increase understanding and perception of Africa and African diaspora, strengthen research, teaching, and outreach capacity. It increases the number of internationally engaged Black diaspora faculty and their students while advancing their careers. By promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion, MSU is taking important steps toward building a global community that values everyone's unique contribution. I would like to extend a special thanks to both co-directors, Jose Jackson Malete and Amy, and the DBA planning team for their hard work in planning today's event and other programs activities. The virtual launch info session took place in January 25th, 2022, and the 4 dialogues provided valuable insight into how our perceptions could affect building trust in international partners and the global African diaspora experience. Today's workshop is an opportunity to share the progress made by the DBA teams and learn from each other. We hope that you find the presentations informative and engaging, and we encourage you to participate actively in the discussions. This is an exciting time for the DBA program, and we are eager to see results of the collaborative efforts of the MSU and African universities in the AAP consortium. Finally, I would like to thank each and every one of you for joining us today. I appreciate your support and commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion at a global level. I hope that you find today's workshop both productive and fulfilling, and I wish you all the best. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Enjam, for that very comprehensive overview. We will get started here with our group presentations, and our AAP priority area of culture will go first.
Oh, Isaac, we still have Jabbar Bennett too.
Oh. Excuse me.
That's okay.
Jabbar will speak now, and I think Amy will introduce him.
Yes, hi, good morning. Jabbar, we are very pleased to have with us this morning Jabbar Bennett, the Vice President and Chief Diversity Officer here at Michigan State University. We certainly want to thank his office, Office of Institutional Equity, for their support through the Creating Institutional Excellence grant that was provided. So Jabbar, we invite you to make some comments now. Thank you so much.
Good morning and thank you, and everyone. It's great to see you here today. I will be very brief, as many of the things I wanted to share I've heard, and it's really just to express Michigan State University's excitement in hosting this program today and having colleagues from our campus be in conversation with everyone who has joined in celebration of the partnership and the connections and the collaborations that the DBA, or the Diverse Black Africa program, has helped to initiate or facilitate. So as you heard, my name is Jabbar Ben. I have the opportunity to work across the entire campus at Michigan State in partnership with everyone who you've heard speak today, thinking about how we can bring knowledge and generate knowledge from our campus and bring people and ideas to our campus to enrich our students in the classroom, as well as our research experiences, and the ways that we disseminate information to enlighten the public and to help change minds and transform lives. Today's workshop is truly an exciting time. I want to thank Dr. Jose Malete Jackson for inviting me to join you today. And I wish you a most engaging, provocative, and transformative workshop. So now, Isaac, back to you.
Thank you, Jabbar, for those encouraging words. We really appreciate your support for our program. It means a lot to us, and we thank you that you take it seriously and that you are present this morning to share with us the proceedings. Thank you once again. Now we will transition to our group presentations, and we will start with the area of culture with Monique Kelly and Danielle Bester.
Good morning, everyone. So let me just quickly share. Right, so good morning again, everyone. So I am Monique Kelly, and I'm assistant professor in the Department of Sociology here at MSU. And so very briefly, my research examines race and skin color inequality and stratification, predominantly in the Anglophone Caribbean.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Danielle Aronson. I'm currently a postdoc fellow at the Center for the Study of the Afterlife of Violence and the Reparative Quest in Stellenbosch University. I'm also a research associate in the Department of Psychology at the University of Pretoria.
Right. So for our project, so the title of our project was Race and Gender Identity and Public Opinion. So comparing the cases of South Africa and the US.
And
Daniel. Okay, so since Daniel, we can't hear, I'm just gonna go through the presentation. So the project objective was to look at attitudes and opinions centered around issues that relate to access, mobility, perceived competence, and determinants of inequality as it relates to race and gender. So how we went about doing our project was we actually partnered with OSR here at MSU to administer web surveys in both the US and South Africa. So in total, we got about 1,100 respondents, and about 640 or so was in the US, and the rest was in South Africa. So we were able to survey across varying racial group categories for this. So again, this was an exploratory study where we're just trying to investigate how perceptions about race and gender perceive people's attitudes or opinions about capability, for example. So current activities, currently we're working on papers for research publication where we both have papers that we're leading. So the paper that I'm leading is entitled Race and Social Distance: The Comparative Cases of US and South Africa. So pretty much in this paper, what I'm observing is racial differences around attitudes of neighbor acceptance. And this is not just simply for racial groups, but we also use groups that are heavily racialized. For example, the poor in the US is heavily racialized as African-American and immigrant population. So how people feel about these having neighbors, how accepting they would be, but also social distancing behavior in terms of how frequent people interact with racial others in, for example, in their community, in their neighborhood, at work, at school, etc. So just a few primary findings or major findings, and I'm just focusing on frequency of interracial interaction for the sake of this presentation. So we found significant differences across racial groups where this is where this is concerned. So one of the starkest differences we found was that in South Africa, the starkest differences were found between whites and Blacks. So Blacks were less likely to have frequent interactions with racial others in places such as family, neighborhood, and community. And again, this is not surprising if we're aware of the history of South Africa in terms of apartheid, etc. However, in the US, we find differences. The starkest differences were between comparing Latinos and Asians to whites. And Latinos and Asians tend to have more frequent interaction with racial others in places such as school or within their friend networks as compared to whites. Of course, there are other findings, but I'm just going to stop here and turn over to Danielle for her lead paper.
Oh, sorry. So my paper is entitled, can you see me? Sorry, I'm not sure what is happening.
Yeah, we see you. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm just using my phone because we've got load shedding and
Okay.
because now I can't see the presentation. I'm so sorry. Let me just see.
Do you want me to go over it? I think you lost Daniel again. Okay, so for the sake of time, I'm also just gonna do it just very quickly because I understand this is supposed to be a brief presentation. So Daniel's lead paper is entitled, "I'm Proud to Be My Race, Exploring Feelings of Race and Nationalism Across South African and American Samples." So again, this was something that we asked in our exploratory survey in terms of like how proud people feel, not just in terms of internal, but also in terms of interaction with others, in terms of in the society, how they feel about their race. So some of the significant findings, is national importance across both countries that we examined, and that within these countries that we examined, there are similar beliefs or feelings towards country and nationhood.
30 seconds.
Yeah, so the rest is on the slide. So I was just going to say it's there to read because we've been on this slide for a while. But very quickly, we just wanted to end with our plans going forward. And so we do plan to sustain this partnership. We do have a lot of data from our survey. So our plan is to capitalize on this and write more articles to submit for journal publication. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Monique and Daniel. We are going to move on and have a presentation from Shamara Kwache and Fatoumata Keita.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this dissemination workshop. And once again, I would like to thank the DBA team for giving me this great opportunity. Please allow me to share my screen.
You should be able to, Fatoumata.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see my screen?
It's coming up. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
There you go.
So, thank you very much once again for giving me this opportunity. Our project is about writing a paper on Africana Girls Agency. So we decided to write an article on redefining Africana girls' identity and agency in Toni Morrison's The Blue Side and Sisi Dangareba's Nervous Condition. So Shamara is not here today, so I'm going to quickly present you our key findings and also our plans for sustaining this partnership. So the objective of this article is to analyze Toni Morrison's Blue Eye and Sisi Dangareba's Nervous Conditions from a comparative perspective. Both novels are debut novels. They are coming of age novels, and we have a lot of Black girls who try also to express their agency and assertivity against the background of hegemonic forces and oppression. So the objective of this work is to highlight this agency and how it is expressed in both novels, and also how we can rethink Africana girls' agency outside the framework of oppositionality, and rethink it through the lens of the Black ratchet imagination, which we have used as a kind of theoretical framework in analyzing the two novels. So as a methodology, this is a qualitative research method. We have read the two novels, which are our primary sources, and we have also read secondary materials and theoretical works based on the Black ratchet imagination and intersectionality, which are our theoretical framework for analyzing these two novels. So the main activity, as I said a while ago in this project, is to write this research article. So we are very glad to say that the paper is in progress. We have almost finished. We only need to proofread it again before sending it to a peer review journal for publication. So as findings, we have noted that there are a lot of commonalities between the two novels, between the trajectories of the female protagonists, mainly the Black girls in the two novels. We have also seen a similarity between the way the two authors really want to voice to the young protagonists, the young Black female protagonists, and how they use also strategies in order to express themselves. We have also found a lot of similarities in terms of the empowerment of the female subjects in the two novels. So we have seen also that both novels, we found girls that combine ratchetness and respectability, in order to fulfill their desired goals. So agency also is expressed in the novels in different ways from the different female characters, where in certain cases we have found agency in the form of what we have borrowed from the negative capability approach, and also in certain cases, mainly from Frida, Claudia, and Tambuzai, we have what we named survival agency in their cases. So again, as output and outcomes also, thanks to the DBA project, I have really a good collaboration with Dr. Chamarai, and we had a lot of Zoom session meetings in order to write the paper and decide on the outline and the reading materials. She has also sent me
30 seconds, Fatimata.
And also thanks to the DBA project, I also participated in the Dhaka Translation Symposium, and I was invited this year to participate in the preparation of the second edition in NYU Abu Dhabi last January. So as plans to sustain this partnership, we have decided to continue to collaborate on a lot of projects, future projects, to write other articles which will be published also, and also to write joint grant proposals, to organize conferences, and also a kind of academic exchange concerning guest lecturer or guest speaker in conferences, and also collaborate on our mentorship programs. So these are the main points that we have agreed on in order to sustain this partnership. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Fatoumata. We are going to hear now from Janina Strother and Sylvia Nanyonga Tamusuza.
I did see Janina. Okay, there's Janina. Great.
Good morning and good afternoon to me. I'm Sylvia Antonia Nanyonga Tamusuza from Makerere University, Uganda, and I'm working with my colleague Janina Strother from Michigan State University. Our project is a global class where we had students from Makerere University interacting in the same class virtually with students, with Professor Janina's students. What is very interesting with this program is that she was teaching a class on production of culture, and I'm teaching community music. And both students had a chance to dialogue, and the whole purpose for us to be together is to have a dialogue on issues of social cultural interest, including but not limited to gender, race, political issues, and how media, in this case music and film, participate in the production of culture. Janina, you can continue.
Okay, let me bring that back some. So one of the aspects that we decided to focus on in terms of our area of topic was looking at the ways in which music and dance can serve as a bridge to understand different forms of the Black cultural identity. And so we had guest artists from the area, a choreographer / filmmaker by the name of Halim Strings Razul. He is the gentleman in the hat, as well as the co-founder of the Zimbabwe Culture Center of Detroit, Cheeto Johnson. They collaborated to do a project that explored a local style of dance called the Detroit Jit with the Zimbabwe Jitty music. And so Halim Strings Razul did a 5-week project in Zimbabwe, working with musicians and dancers over there to kind of unpack the overlapping histories of these two seemingly different cultures. And so we brought Halim and Cheeto in to speak with the group about this so that students can get an idea of how music and dance can be used beyond the stage to unpack diasporic identities. So here you have, we have a picture of the classroom, and you can see the slide. In the upper left-hand corner are the students at Makerere University in Uganda. You can see the in the bottom left corner footwork so that the students were able to zoom in and actually learn the movements. And I'm going to play a short clip where you can see the students are dancing together, trying to get a sense of how to perform this style of dance.
Okay, our results, it was really a very exciting class where students from Uganda shared experiences and views about about America. This was a great opportunity for our students to kind of check out some of their perspectives and ideas. And one of the very interesting experience was that our students from Uganda thought that the students in America, or the children in America by the age of 3, they already know what they want in life. And then the students from Michigan said, no, we are actually in 4th year. Some of them are in 4th year, but we actually don't even know what is our next step. So there was a really very great moment of truth, sharing and understanding and learning about each other. So for us, it was more than just a class of sharing about social cultural issues and comparing them with Uganda, but it was also experiencing America. In fact, my students are now so proud that they say they are Michigan students, and that's really very interesting. Now they'll be working on joint projects together as a team, and we've clustered them into three groups. They are yet to finish their projects. They're beginning to have the discussion around them, and each of the group will be expected to share how we can use music and media in addressing social cultural issues, and they will have to choose their own topics. Of course, we will be supporting them. Moving
30
forward.
seconds, Sylvia. Thank you.
Yeah, we're planning to have a publication. And of course, like what other colleagues have said, we are planning an ongoing partnership between the 2 departments. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I was just going to quickly say, Sylvia, just to give you all an idea, this is an ongoing class that meets weekly over a period of 7 different sessions. Thank you.
Thank you, Janina and Sylvia. We're going to move on to our next presenters, who will be the last in the culture group. That's Raven Jones and Mpale Mwansasu Silkeluwasha. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name there.
No worries. Good morning, everyone. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, it sounds great.
Okay, perfect. Oh, let me go back. I'm sorry about that. So my name is Raven Jones. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Teacher Education at Michigan State University, hailing proudly from Detroit, Michigan. And broadly, I look at literacy access, Black and brown girl youth identities, debate education, and literacy. And my partner here, Dr. Impel, I saw her earlier, so I want to give her a chance to introduce herself. Okay, I'm not sure if she is preoccupied, but Dr. Impel hails from the University of Dar es Salaam, where she is an instructor and teaches a lot of courses on literature across the diaspora, looking at Black women identity work. So this is who we are and what we were committed to across this project. We were able to convene Black and Brown women and young girls to gauge their identities and understandings of social justice, culture and activism, and how they would like to see that play out a bit more across teacher education programs and within education at large. So in every session that we had, we remain committed to social justice and empowering youth and giving them access across academic and professional spaces. We engaged a lot of storytelling frameworks and strategies. We believe in honoring and affirming the voices and experiences of Black and Brown youth and women. And so a lot of our work, we were able to engage in creative writing activities and cultural sharing based on our identities in K-12 and post-college experiences. Across the spaces, we were able to co-facilitate sessions with teacher educators and parents connected to Michigan State and the University of Dar es Salaam. And to move forward, we were able to, we're still in the stage where we are exploring some of the responses and feedback that we were able to gauge through our author talks and webinars. But these are some of the texts. These aren't all the texts that we examined, but these are some of them. And you will see, if you're not familiar with them, that there are some thematic identity or themes that come across these texts. And many of them are very much so committed to affirming and honoring Black identity, whether it's through children, young boys and girls, or women. And so we are excited to move forward. Our plans are to definitely do a joint co-authored publication and potentially co-present together, whether it's at the National Conference of Teachers of English or across other international and national spaces. So thank you so much.
Amy?
Thank you, Raven and Ampali. Next, we'll move on to the youth empowerment priority area. And I'd like to invite Emily Smith and Zita Mokomane to present.
Well, I'm so happy. Thank you for welcoming us here to this dissemination event today. I also just want to thank the DBA organization for this wonderful opportunity to be able to work together with Dr. Mokomane. I know that she was on earlier. Dr. Mokomane, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. The one who to share.
I'm gonna allow her to. I'm a professor of human development and family studies at Michigan State University, and I'm gonna allow Dr. Mokomane to introduce herself.
I am Zita Mokomane. I'm the professor in the Department of Sociology at the University of Pretoria.
And you can go ahead and kick us off, Dr. Mokomane.
Okay. Are you going to change the slides?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, that's who we are. I think we can go to the next slide.
Okay.
Okay. The first one first, please.
The project objective, are you seeing it?
The previous one, the title. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Our project is on social mobility and Black African and Black middle class families, and is a comparative exploratory study looking at South Africa and the US. So in our project, we seek to understand the educational and occupational aspirations of Black middle class families in particular for themselves and their children. And we thought this was really important because it has potential implications for supportive parenting programs and policies. So we're using a mixed method approach, looking at race, ethnicity, and opportunity. In South Africa, I'm using quantitative data from the latest Afrobarometer surveys, and Dr. Smith is using another database from the US. In both of them, we look at factors that have been noted to promote positive sense of youth, like racial ethnic identity, heritage, and coping with discrimination. So we think that this is fulfilling a very important research gap in the two countries. And hopefully looking at using our findings to enhance parenting programs and programs to improve social cohesion. So our methodology, like I said, is mixed method. We have done focus literature reviews, global and also in the 2 countries, also use secondary data analysis, like I said. We're also drawing on focus group discussions and in-depth interviews. In South Africa specifically, the in-depth interviews with families of young people, and in the US we are using more focus group discussions, and we are still collecting the information and it's coming through and look at doing phenomenological analysis with that. So where are we now? We have both did a global classrooms. Dr. Smith talked to my postgraduate students, not just mine, the postgraduate in the department on youth and families, and I did one for her postgraduate, a master's class on social protection and the family. And we have completed the data analysis and currently are both waiting for our IRB or research ethics applications, which mine just came through, and then we'll go through with the qualitative interviews. And just looking at preliminary analysis now from the literature review and secondary data analysis, it's available. That's what we are looking.
So what's next?
Yeah.
So what's next for us is we're both looking forward to conducting these parallel focus groups in addition to the secondary data analyses that we have conducted that allow us to explore more of the kinds of factors that families and youth talk about in terms of performing protective mechanisms in promoting a positive identity, promoting a sense of value around work and opportunity, even in the face of discrimination. We are meeting together and we have meetings coming up in Pretoria. We're working on joint publications and grant applications for further work based upon our preliminary analyses and focus group so from our mixed method study. So we want to thank you all for your support, for your attention, for allowing us to participate in this dissemination event. Anything else, Dr. Mokomani?
No, nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And next I'll call the team of Tama Hamilton-Ray, Leonora Paula, Sitara Tobani, Gadisang Mokodi, and Setunya Mosime. I hope I pronounced those well. So. I see something loading, but.
I'm sorry, I was muted. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, I was saying that I think 2 of our members are here today, Dr. Mokodi and Dr. Devani may be joining us. And if she's here, please chime in. So we'll tag team on this presentation. So our program brought together 2 mentoring programs that focused on young women, one at the University of Botswana that has been around for over 10 years, and the Young Women's Leadership Program, and the Sister Circle Mentoring Program situated in the Residential College of Arts and Humanities here at MSU. We have been around for about going on 4 to 5 years. These 2 programs center in Botswana, of course, women at Botswana, but at MSU, women of color. And so we have women who are of African descent and from other ethnic and racial groups in our program. Learning that we have these similar programs and aims, we thought it would be, we wanted to bring together the groups and think about how transnational feminisms work and how we might think about these programs through that lens. But initially, this grant allowed us to foster relationship building between the 2 programs. And of course, our programs are focused on facilitating the development of young women in all aspects of their lives, personal, collegiate, professional. And And we also wanted to really amplify the opportunities in national and international spaces for both sets of participants, and to encourage these women of color, Black women and women of color, again, to help them to develop other opportunities in these spaces.
Emma, we're not seeing your slides for some reason. I don't know.
Oh, shoot.
I just want to make sure.
I'll try again.
It just says loading for us. I don't know why.
I don't know what happened. I'll stop share and do it again. I'll try it again.
Okay. It might be like that it's showing a different screen on your computer. I'm not sure.
Oh, geez. Okay, we'll try again.
Okay.
And it was working this morning when we were practicing. So I don't know what happened.
No worries. We'll be patient. That's no problem.
It says it's paused.
It says you started screen sharing. It just might take a minute to come up.
Okay. Dr. McCody, you might want to chime in. I'll see if I can get it to work.
Good afternoon, or I suppose it's afternoon for me here. Good morning, and in all parts of the world to you all. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you, Tama, for the introduction. I'm just going to talk a few minutes about the what we learned from our transnational collaboration. There we are. Okay. So basically, what we've been doing is having some transnational dialogues. We had two, one in October and one in November. And the first transnational dialogue was involving students from the Sister Circle group at MSU and the Young Women's Leadership Project here in Botswana, which has been, both of which programs have been going on for a while. So there are several things that we learned from that. And one of the key issues I think that we discovered quite early on is the whole issue of collaborating across different time zones, communicating over different time zones, the need for reliable internet and equipment and so on and so forth. I'm glad to say that we were actually able to conduct our, yeah, thank you, Tama.
Okay, I think we're
next slide.
I'm so sorry.
It's working. Mm-hmm.
Now you've gone from middle one.
Got it.
Yeah. So as you can see, colleagues, our activities included transnational dialogues. The first one was about community building, where our students got to know each other, and it was really, really interesting because they were actually able to put into context their own lives as students at the different universities and their own sort of personal experiences of them. Then we decided to come together again to talk about a common topic, which is basically the impacts of COVID on young women in the different spaces. And that was very, very interesting and telling, is in terms of particularly, it was more about the young women's relationships with family members and so on, and how they managed to navigate those spaces. So I came to MSU in November, and I must say I thank everybody for facilitating that visit. I had a wonderful and very, very productive time with colleagues at MSU. I had meetings with stakeholders, including students. I did some classes and so on. And we also managed to discuss a bit with Jose's group about grant writing, which we thought, since this is very initial, we're thinking of the way forward and seeing how we can, garner more funds. So we also shared experiences. We have slightly different histories, in the sense that ours is a campus-based activism group, and that focuses on issues that they raise as young women for debate
30 seconds, Gary-san.
Yes, for debate and so on. Okay, and then so one of the key things that we found out is that we had shared and contextual gender equity issues at MSU and UB. A lot of issues we were raising around safety, around violence and so on, and even just participation in university activities was quite an interesting area. I found the structures of MSU, very, very useful and very supportive. And I think I managed to take back a few lessons from there. And I would definitely want to see this continue through MSU faculty and students. I think the last slide. Tama, do you want to take that one?
Just to say,
yeah.
Our time is up. Just to say that we'll continue this work that we, as others have said, with grant writing. We are thinking about how to just continue our conversations and deepen our relationships. And finally, that eventually we'll be writing together, do co-authoring. So those are just some of those points that you can see, and an exchange between our two campuses. Next visit to University of Botswana. Thank you. Thank you, AAP, for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Tama, and thank you very much, Dr. Mwaokodi. We are now going to transition to the health and nutrition group. Our presenters, Lee, June, and Lucky Odirile, seem to have difficulties with getting here. So we are going to ask Sharon Hooper, Eugene Kaitesi, and Ian Thompson to present.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Are you all able to see my screen?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, awesome. So good morning again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sharon Hooper. I'm a research and academic specialist here at Michigan State University. And our project, Sensory Evaluation Techniques, A Journey Through the Global Diaspora, is a collaborative project with PIs from the University of Pretoria in South Africa, Eugene Kaitesi, who unfortunately wasn't able to be with us this morning, as well as University of the West Indies, Mona, located in Jamaica, and the PI is Ian Thompson. So our project is basically an extension of our PIRA project, which is based the novel composite flours for globally nutritious foods. And through this project, we recognize that our partner institution, UWI, did not have the capacity or some of the resources to fully execute the sensory evaluation and the consumer research component of the project of looking at culturally acceptable foods. And so we thought, the University of Pretoria has an excellent consumer research and sensory evaluation research. And so why not tap into that expertise at the University of Pretoria? And so we basically wanted to, implement a global classroom, as well as help train researchers, faculty, and students at the UWI campus who recently acquired a sensory evaluation software to train them to be able to conduct these experiments, as well as, for future income generation. And I'll just have my colleague Ian introduce himself and talk to us more about the outcomes and future plans. All right, go ahead, Ian.
Okay, good. Thank you, Sharon, and thanks to the organizers of the DBA program. We're very grateful for this opportunity to, participate and to share. And I must say that I found the prior talks very interesting. I want to hear more. But onto our project. So we well, first of all, my name is Ian Thompson. I'm a lecturer in food science technology at the University of the West Indies in the Department of Chemistry. So we, as a part of this AAP project, AAP PIRA project, we recognize the need to bolster our sensory evaluation program. We, in fact, had established a sensory evaluation lab, but had been pursuing those assessments manually using the traditional manual method. And, you know, as Sharon indicated, we thought it important to upgrade what it is that we're doing to be more relevant. And we found that the Competent software was the ideal tool. Let me just say that, as indicated by a prior presenter, we did have challenges in relation to the time difference when we were operating this global classroom with the University of Pretoria. I must also acknowledge Marissa Kinner, who was instrumental in providing the instructional classes, because it is not easy when we're waking up in the morning, you know, to coordinate with the instructor who is about to, you know, leave work. So we had some challenges, not only with respect to the time difference, but also with respect to the participants, graduate students, several of whom would be working. But onto what our objectives were, essentially to train our graduate students, many of them having sensory components within their research projects in the use of the Competent software. As well, these graduate students also double having been trained to execute the delivery of the sensory evaluation component of our product development course in our master's program. And finally, having gained more experience after training and instruction, these graduate students were engaged as graduate research assistants to conduct the trials required for the AAP PIRA project. So in all, you know, we received training, we had them hone their skills with the incoming students, and then having been competent, you know, they then moved on to conduct their own trials and assist with the PIRA project. In all, we had just over 15 students registered, and you know, they were able to actively engage with the product development course, as mentioned. One of the interesting things is that, you know, we also engaged a lot of undergraduate students in this process, and we created a video with several of them, and that was exciting because it not only gave them an opportunity to learn about what it is that we're doing within the department, but also, you know, it was a very useful way to recruit additional students for our programs. The University of Pretoria was, of course, very instrumental in the fact that, you know, they had demonstrated competence in this area. And, you know, it is interesting that, you know, we've made this link. We foresee a lot of future collaboration in research. And, you know, we are planning a visit to the University of Pretoria to look at the facilities there and to, you know, of course, give a guest lecture of our experiences. So thanks again to DBA for this opportunity, and good luck in your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, AAP.
Thank you, Sharon and Ian. Thank you so much. We'll now turn to the final priority area of water, energy, and environment. And I invite Chanel Foster, Agu, Bamidele Rahim, and Mbika Mutebe to present.
Good morning. This is Chanel Foster. I guess I should turn on my video. I noticed that two of my colleagues, Agwu and Dele, are both joining us this morning. Unfortunately, it looks as if Dr. Mateba Mbika was not able to join us. I'm going to go ahead and start. Our project was on development of low-cost off-grid water wheel generator for rural farmers in Nigeria. And this was a collaboration between 4 universities, where MSU is just one of those. And if I can get this to move. Okay, the motivation is really based on just the energy poverty that's a reality there in Nigeria. If you look at the map that's shown on the right, you'll see that these countries, these countries down here towards the bottom, seem to be doing pretty well. Well, states down here in the bottom seem to be doing pretty well, whereas those up in the upper part here in the north are not doing as well, with 2 here showing below 18%. So we focused on Taraba State, which is this state here that has the lowest percentage there for access to electricity. It is pretty well known that the access to electricity can impact health, but also perpetuates the widening of the wealth gap. And in this project, we focused more on rural farmers who rely heavily on subsistence farming for their needs. And the other thing to take note of is that Taraba State ranks 3rd in terms of land mass. So it's not one of the smaller states that we have there. And what we were looking for was, what is the best green energy tactic that we could use to provide now energy to that area and to the rural farmers? And we decided to focus on 3 communities here that are shown in the green dots in the plot on the right. And our question was, would onshore wind or photovoltaic or using solar power be better, or hydropower? And what we found was these 3 are the lowest as you think of cost. However, the wind in this area wasn't adequate, and solar can have a high cost in the beginning. And so we focused on hydro, especially since the Taraba River flows right near those communities. And so our goal was to, 1, evaluate the feasibility of installing this hydropower system to aid these rural farmers. And then what we ended up doing was doing a study. The first one was led by Agwu at UNN, where he sent out basically a team to the area and do a survey. And they brought back information that was useful for us in order to assess whether or not this is something that the community would even desire to have. And then we proceeded after that to design then the hydropower plant for that area. The second part of our project was developing a COIL course. And because our teaching schedules are quite different, this wasn't the easiest feat. However, we were able to have Dr. Rahim from the University of Lapland provide a lecture for a course that I was teaching here on electromechanical energy conversion. And he talked about food security. And then we tied that into a project that students have for that course at the end, where they had to talk about how developing a water wheel using the information that they learned in that course would be helpful for food security in an area where they chose. It didn't have to be in Nigeria. The other thing that we were able to do was for me to do a lecture for the University of Johannesburg via Zoom. And that lecture was for not only students, but also staff in that area. So what are the outcomes of our project? We have submitted 2 manuscripts to Energy Nexus for consideration. And we found initially our desire was to do 1 article, but after we collected all the information and did the design, we saw that it was too much for just a single article. And so we divided it into parts 1 and 2. And we have not heard back a final decision from either, but have received comments for the first one and resubmitted that one. So they both have the same title, Micro Hydropower Systems for Smallholder Farmers in Rural Communities in Taraba State, Nigeria. The first one focuses on the socioeconomic assessment of needs and perceptions, and that was led by Agwu from University of Nigeria in Nsukka, and also from Dele Rahim, who's at University of Lapland. And then the second was focusing on the feasibility study and system analysis, design, and performance evaluation, and that was led by Mateba and myself for part 2. We also managed to submit a proposal to USDA. Unfortunately, it wasn't selected, but we haven't given up, and we'll also pursue additional funding opportunities. And then, as I stated, we did 2 COIL modules, one from MSU, one held at MSU, but provided by University of Lapland, and then the other held at University of Johannesburg, but the presentation was from myself here at MSU. And as I stated, I have 2 colleagues on the call today, so I'd like to give them an opportunity to speak on anything that I missed.
Yeah, we have about 30 seconds.
Dele or
well, just to say greetings to everyone. I think you captured most of the things that we've been doing. I'm currently in Africa and from the Arctic Center. So my input is looking at issues of climate change in response to food, energy, and water. So yeah, maybe Agu also wants to say something quickly.
Just to thank Sheila for that presentation. I think it was complete, and but also to say that we thought we could have been part of this activity there in the MSU, but for issues of visa and all that. Yeah, so we still look forward to our collaboration in the future. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Agu. I forgot to mention that we tried to get you here.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I know how those work. So thank you to the teams. Thank you, everyone. We really appreciate it. And I think we heard some exciting work happening amongst these teams. We now have some time for questions. If you have any questions, you can either raise your hand or put your question in the chat and we'll pose it to a particular team, or of course you could ask a question for all the teams to address. Isaac, do you want to take one of the questions and start us out?
Yes, I think one question was asking about what kinds of support you would like moving forward after you have accomplished what you've accomplished.
Yeah, Jose, are you adding to that question or?
No, I was going to ask it, but it's fine.
So invite any of the teams to talk about what supports you might need to move this work forward in the future.
Maybe I might just add, Amy, that I think really I wanted to congratulate the team members for really the excellent work that they have done. What we've heard here today, given the amounts of monies that you received, which I won't tell anyone, I will allow our funder to think that we gave a lot of money to you guys, because what you've reported to us is really fantastic. I mean, what you did, what you received and what you gave us is really, really outstanding. And so we would definitely like to thank you. And as Isaac has asked the question about supporting for, expanding your work to another level.
Yes, and I see that in the chat, Emil says that, or Emily says that it would help us to learn about multiple sources of funding for international collaborations We know about Fulbright, but would like to learn about others. So I think that's an area where we can help one another, perhaps through AAP, the African Studies Center, and other sources to put together funding sources, funding organizations for various projects. So yeah, are there any other questions or comments on this particular topic, or a new question? Amy, do you want to ask another question?
I see Hodisang says, agreed, we also need to sharpen our grant writing skills. Yes, funding opportunities and grant writing I see as main themes. Yeah, Tama, I see your hand raised. Dr. Hamilton Ray?
You are muted.
Oh, you're muted.
There I go again. Just wanted to say one of the things we learned, that we appreciate the work that DBA and AP did at the beginning of the session, where we did talked about relationships between African American and other diaspora partners, and the importance of well, just kind of looking at the history and thinking through some of the potential and maybe pitfalls. I thought that was really helpful and instructive. And what we found was not so much those issues, but really thinking through how do you, because we're speaking across the water and because we're speaking through technology often, really trying to create good communication and the time that you need for relationship building. So I just want to say how we can now really think about what that means to build relationships, how much work it takes to build relationships, and ultimately how that can yield such great results in the end. So I just wanted to kind of raise that idea of relationship building, which I think we don't think enough about. Of course, we talked about diaspora, but just, kind of that human connection, and so that we are able to, and because of technology and all the things, be able to really understand our needs and our goals across these spaces.
I think that's an excellent point, Tama, especially, after the work has been done. If we were to look at what we thought coming in and what we now think in terms of our relationships and how we were able to complete the work that we completed, it would be instructive perhaps at some point to sort of take a step back and take stock of how things went, and to discuss more about how these collaborations can be enhanced, not only from a financial perspective, but as you say, from a relationship building perspective. I think this is going to be important. Amy, you have a question up on the previous list that we saw.
Yes, I think I'll go to your question, Isaac, about, do you see, did the team see opportunities for the projects to that include or increase student-to-student collaborations? So where are the opportunities to engage students in these projects, or perhaps lessons learned from engaging students in the ones that did? I know, such as the COIL courses that were taught, or the great example, I think it was from Raven's team. So student exchange, where do we see the opportunities? Kodisang, I see your hand raised. Dr. Makodi.
Thank you very much. Yes, actually student exchange is at the core of our activities, and sort of student-led activities are also driving our partnership. What we found is that when I was in Michigan, I managed to connect with students in Sister Circle, and learned a lot more about their personal experiences, their perspectives on gender and so on and so forth. And so this is why we're thinking going forward, it would be quite useful to focus on, getting more students to come across to each other's institutions. And actually, we were also thinking about, we've got a research assistant in Botswana, her name is Amu, and she's done a master's. She is actually an alumna of the project in Botswana, which has been going on for more than 10 years. So we're thinking possibly even educational exchanges, if possible, you know, for a couple of weeks, either summer or a semester here or there. But another thing that we talked about is we sort of started discussing the idea of this program about you know, wellness and survival of campus spaces for young women is so useful, and yet we do not have credit for it. I mean, number one, these are not for credit courses. They're about well-being and safety, but yet they are very, very important to the student survival on campus. So this provision of safe spaces is very important, but we're still sort of going to sort of weigh the costs, possibilities of what would happen if we're to formalize these processes, because the one thing that could happen is that we could lose the safe space aspect, but you know, while enhancing the credits. So it's quite a balance. So where you're looking at the welfare of the student, but also their academic welfare, personal and academic welfare. Thank you.
Yes, and to just add to that, I think for MSU, these collaborations open up possible pipelines for recruiting graduate students. And I think it's something that we should collaborate with the Africa colleagues with that in mind. Also, as you mentioned, the idea of student exchanges and education abroad. I think American students could learn a lot by visiting the African campuses and vice versa. So really great points there. Do we have another question? Where are we now, Amy, in terms of time?
I think we have about 3 minutes left. I see, I'm sorry, is it Mpale or Mpal?
Yes, that's me.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. So I'm Pale from Tanzania. Sorry, guys, I couldn't talk when Raven was speaking. I was driving back with my son from school, and I couldn't do anything. But I'm really, really grateful to DBA for this opportunity. It has been great. Raven, thank you for a great presentation on my behalf. And I'll just like to add on what has been mentioned earlier about relationships. I think for me, this project has done that a lot. We have connected with Raven, and I think the fact that she has been to Tanzania kind of has helped us reconnect better, and she understands where I'm coming from. And sometimes I wouldn't be as reliable as I should have been on the network and everything, but we kind of managed to set things going. She has been very instrumental together with the DBA people to make sure that I have the books here, which was also not easy. So I really appreciate the efforts by this DBA, but specifically by Raven. And indeed, the relationship has been started well, and I'm looking forward, and I'm really confident to more cooperation and co-writing, as Raven has pointed out. So thanks for this chance. I'm glad to be part of it.
Very heartening to hear, because that was really the intent of the DBA to strengthen relationships in research, in teaching, and in all our endeavors. Kori-san, I think you have your hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's a mistake.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I did also, you know, I know that Giannina and Sylvia presented some innovative student exchange and engagement. I also wanted to invite them to share a bit about, you know, some lessons they've learned on student engagement and opportunities for the future.
Yes, thank you. One of the things that we're still contending with or working through is the comfortability of students being able to speak transparently and openly, and I'll speak more so from like the Michigan State side of things. We had, during our first introductory class, the students share their thoughts or perceptions about the other country and their other cultural values. And so a lot of the things that the Ugandan students share was like, you know, really very positive or nice, or we think you all have it figured out. Or it was like very, you know, let's say like romanticized, but it was all like wonderful. And I think the Michigan State students didn't know much at all about Ugandan culture or the Ugandan students and the perceptions that they had received about Africa. They knew to be incorrect and but more slighted to the negative. And so they were uncomfortable sharing that because they knew that it was skewed and they knew that it wasn't correct and they knew that it wasn't nice and it wouldn't feel good to hear that that's the primary depictions that they received through media in the US. And so after class, they shared their hesitation to speak openly because so much of what they receive about Africa, they know is to be incorrect. And so working through creating activities for students to have these, I want to say breakout groups, but there's also ways that Sylvia has been so creative in trying to work around our lack of whether technology and different cameras. So the MSU students all have Zoom and their individual computers, whereas for the Ugandan students, they may be sharing one monitor, maybe two, and it may be a classroom of 20. So we have to be really creative in how to create these breakout spaces where Sylvia and I can like remove ourselves from it so that the students can engage. But I think we are continuing to work through and to, you know, explore different activities that would allow them to have more of a lead in terms of the way that they interact. We have discussion questions and things of that nature, but because the course is rooted also in the arts, we're looking at ways that they can create collaboratively in a way that allows them to be more comfortable in exploring these sometimes sensitive and taboo subjects.
That's great. Thank you so much. I think we need to wrap up just to make sure we're keeping on time. And I just want to, again, echo everyone's congratulations to the team, to the teams. We are really blown away by the work that you're doing. And, you know, the resources you had were small, to be honest, but you, in terms of the financial support we were able to provide, but you have taken it and run with it, and we really are impressed with the work that everyone is doing. I am now have the pleasure of introducing our closing speaker, Professor Paul Zaleza. Hold on just a second. Sorry, I'm trying to manage between screens, but we're very pleased to have Professor Zaleza here with us today. He currently serves as Associate Provost and the North Star Distinguished Professor at Case Western Reserve University. And his immediate past appointment was at the United States International University in Nairobi, Kenya. He served as Vice Chancellor there from 2016 to 2021, and as a Professor of the Social Sciences and Humanities. Professor Zaleza has been a longtime friend of MSU and of the Alliance for African Partnership, serving on our advisory board for several years and engaging with us through USIU is a member of the AAP consortium. So we're very pleased to have him here. He's done a lot of work looking at diaspora issues and the history of that, but also supporting teams to come together, joint research across diaspora, joint teaching through the Carnegie Diaspora Program. So Professor Zaleza, I will turn it to you.
Thanks, Jamie, Amy, and thank you, everyone. It was really, really wonderful to hear what has transpired from these collaborations. I would like to begin by thanking MSU, you know, the administrators, as well as, of course, people in this particular program for facilitating what I think is a transformative set of relationships. As we had at the beginning, you know, this program was meant to provide opportunities for faculty and staff of African descent at MSU to connect with colleagues on the continent for mutual benefit and advancement in teaching, research, and outreach. And it's of course also part of the EDI commitments of the university. I do think this is a groundbreaking program under the AAP consortium. We held last year, excuse me, we held last year a series of meetings on various aspects of the complex relations between and engagements between African peoples on the continent and in the diaspora. When we had those meetings, it was really fascinating to see, our different perspectives, but also our common experiences and aspirations for more engagement. The engagements that are productive, that are transformative, and that are mutually beneficial. When I was listening to the various presentations, and obviously I'm not going to summarize them because we were all in this meeting, I was really impressed by the amount of work that has been done. The culture group, for example, the work on race and gender, identity and public opinion, the presentation on the African Girls Agency in the novels of Toni Morrison and Tsitsi Ndangaremba, Bluest Eye and Nervous Conditions, and the global classroom in terms of the performing arts as a tool for social change, and then teaching to transgress, centering storytelling and the humanizing, the relationships and experiences and so on. I thought those were very informative. I certainly did learn quite a bit. And then the presentations on youth empowerment, again, very powerful. And I was quite impressed by the focus on social mobility for middle classes. Sometimes we tend to, when we focus on Africa, we tend to ignore that middle classes do exist. They're expanding, and their experiences are important for us to have a much more comprehensive and nuanced understanding of Africa, instead, of course, of the focusing only on certain segments of those populations. And the presentation on mentoring, again, I thought that was wonderful. The issue of mentoring of young women in our universities is one that all of us, of course, are very committed to and concerned about because of the gender dynamics of our institutions. And then the presentations on health and nutrition and on water management and energy and so on. I'd like to conclude by noting, three takeaways from my point of view after having listened to these presentations. One is the nature of the collaborations. I thought they demonstrate, collaboration based on very key principles of AAP and many other organizations that are committed for transformative relationships between the global North and the global South, namely principles of co-creation, the co-sharing of resources and expertise, and the difficulties as well as opportunities of negotiating interinstitutional and transnational collaborations. Some of the discussion after the presentations, I thought, did raise this issue that this is not easy, but it is necessary for us to do it and to be very candid as we do it as to what the challenges are and how to navigate those challenges and build empowering relationships, respectful relationships, and relationships that are mutually beneficial. The second area that I think is critical from this project is, of course, the area of teaching. It struck me that, and again, in a way that was quite impressive, the co-teaching that has been undertaken through the creation of virtual global classroom that enabled robust and transformative interactions between students in African universities and at MSU, and also in one case, of course, students at the University of the West Indies. And teaching in each other's classes and participation in each other's programs. I thought that was also something to be proud of. The issue that was raised towards the end about promoting student exchanges, beyond the virtual interactions, I think is something that we might want to consider as part of continuing these collaborations. The question perhaps I would ask is how we can use these experiences as a basis for curriculum co-development beyond the projects, the areas of the projects, and the development of credit and non-credit programs, and the very difficult balance between the two, is something perhaps in future we might want to put more attention to. The final area is research, and again, I was very impressed by the amount of research that has been done, and I'd like to isolate three elements. One is the choice of topics. The topics that were chosen for research collaboration are very important from an intellectual point of view. And I would also imagine they're important in terms of institutional priorities of MSU, as well as the African and Caribbean institutions involved. And most critical in building transnational diasporic understanding and impact. Also, all the projects that were presented today, and of course are ongoing, are used, in my view, sophisticated, empirical, reflexive, interdisciplinary, and intersectional methodologies. Again, this is gratifying because it's pushing the envelope of research in ways that are productive in understanding African diasporic experiences, but also pushing the envelope in whatever field the focus of any project is. And the products of the projects are obviously multifaceted and quite impressive as well. The number of publications that are being envisaged to come out of these projects, should be something, as Jose said, gratifying to MSU and the African and Caribbean universities involved, and they go beyond the amount of funding that was provided. I was also quite happy to see that all the projects are talking about grant applications, talking about dissemination through organizing conferences, participating in conferences, and so on. The question perhaps one could raise is how, perhaps two. One is how we can think of social impact, beyond the universities themselves, in terms of advancing public awareness of these issues, beyond the campuses, beyond our classrooms, and with policymakers, because some of these issues, in fact, all of these issues have a policy dimension that might be useful to think about. And then, of course, the elephant in the room is always funding. To what extent can we think in terms of continuity of these projects and other projects in future? What are the funding streams institutionally that are available, as well as, of course, from other sources that collectively the program could be, trying to mobilize to facilitate these collaborations. As somebody who has been involved in, diaspora work for a long time, I'm really, really gratified to hear what I heard today. When we began these conversations, I had no clue, frankly, that it would result in such a robust set of engagements in terms of teaching, in terms of research, and in terms of social impact in such a short time, which means that the potential to enhance this collaboration for impact is tremendous. So once again, thank you to all the people who have presented today, and of course the colleagues you've been working with who were not able to attend. And thank you to the AAP and Michigan State University, as well as the leaders and people at the other universities that have committed their institutions to this partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Leza. And I think, it's exciting to see from the time you were participating in the dialogues to what's happened now. So much work has taken place. So thank you. Isaac, any closing words from you? Oh, you're on mute. Okay.
Yes, just wanting to thank everyone for this really great event. As Professor Zeleza has pointed out, thinking about where we started and where we are now, no one would have guessed that we would have this really rich experience. And it's touching on all of the points that we wanted to see enhanced and supported and moving forward. And certainly the areas of collaboration as they have been delineated by Professor Zeleza, which I won't repeat for the interest of time, are open for us to act and to move to escalate this work. So we are really, really thankful. And also, again, to thank our sponsors for the great work that they have done in allowing this exercise to come to fruition. And from the African Studies Center's point of view, we're very thankful to our colleagues at the Alliance for African Partnerships for being the conduit, for being the platform through which such wonderful work has happened. And we are so proud of them and so proud to partner with them in this endeavor. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Have a lovely day, everyone.